We hope everybody had a great lunchtime, over conversations, over networking, store enough energy for our afternoon session. So in our morning session, we have Peter, Edward, Tony, Kerwin, and Bruce to share ASML perspective on the market and our expectation to all our suppliers. Then I think the message is very clear. To start our afternoon session, we will be hearing voice of ASML customers and also what ASML needs to focus.
在今天早上的议程中，我们听到了 Peter、Edward、Tony、Kerwin 还有 Bruce 分享对市场的观点，还有对供应商的期待。接下来，让我们听听艾斯摩尔客户的声音。Let's invite Sales and Customer Manager Representative Bruce Zheng to the stage. Welcome.
下午，大家好。Good afternoon. Everybody hear me all right? Okay. To cover this topic, voice of customer, I need to make sure this microphone is the best one. Because in many cases, our customers' voice could be very, very loud. So, many thanks to Edward and Bruce to have me here to share voice of customer. You know, it's very nice for me to see many familiar faces, although you all got the more gray hairs. Yeah. And of course, the new faces, okay? By the way, I don't complain about the hair as long as it stays. Okay, I realized this audience, there are two groups of people. The majority of you are people who has to deal directly with customers, and the other group is people who manage or handle suppliers. Right? So as a salesperson, my advice for those who need to deal with customers is enjoy the challenges. And it is not always that you have the free lunch as you just did. Okay, so enjoy the moment. And as a former procurement, people, I also have some advice for those who manage or deal with suppliers, which is to stay where you are, don't move. And this is not a joke, by the way. Yeah. So, still I have one question, why Edward and Bruce have me here? Because to share customer voice, these two gentlemen has much more sales experiences than I do. So in order not to disappoint them, I actually have two customer ladies, or lady customers, to help me, all right? So there's Stella, Stella from China, and Gina from Samsung, from Korea. Some might ask me why I don't have Victoria from Taiwan, or Teresa from Taiwan. You know who I refer to, right? Because her voice could be too loud and scary. That's why we skip the one from Taiwan. So I have two reminders before we play these two videos. Number one, Stella, and number two, Gina. The first reminder is, after this video, I'm going to have some quiz for the audience. And if you get the answers wrong, I'm sure Edward will pay you less. Okay? And second reminder is that, again, normally our customers speak much louder. Okay? It's not as you hear, so gentle here. So let's have a look at the video.
This is Stella from 6MT, DRAM manufacturer in China. It's my pleasure to be here to share my perspective about how ASML will support us and we grow together as a partner. actually provided us the machine also probably 6 years ago. Once we have the factory ready and we have a picture, we have the first ASML machine to move in. Yeah, so it's we grown up with the support from ASML. Trust is always two-way, right? Both supplier and customer, or both sides. So we do have regular meetings with ASML from different levels and share the perspective and share the information each other, and also share our product roadmap. ASML share your product roadmap with us to say which one or we can quickly to apply in our system, and we share our product roadmap to ASML to see how ASML's product can to fit into our needs. And this sharing is very open and direct between each other to support and help each other. This really can improve on the trust and elevate the trust between each other. So our capacity ramp up, capacity expansion, and the on-time delivery of the tools and the machine and parts is very important to us. So to answer your question, how ASML can do to help us, from actually last year, we have a big year because we are ramping up our first fab. The supply chain is not so stable from actually ASML as well because of the parts delivery. We have 20 to 30% of the system delayed. The average delay is around 80 days. So that impacts us quite a lot in terms of our capacity ramp up. This year, ASML did improve a lot in terms of supply chain, but still there are critical parts like optics. It's still delayed in terms of the on-time delivery. So if ASML can help to improve the supply chain in terms of the parts support, will be wonderful for our expansion as well. Almost all the company who is providing memory lose money in this year. So it's really a downturn for memory market. However, this downturn, there will be upturn, right? So we do really need to prepare for the future supplier. And when we are preparing for the future supplier, because we are a small company and we are doing our expansion for our capacity, so that the on-time supplier delivery we just mentioned is very important. Other than that, how to make sure the quality of the parts, the quality of the system. When you deliver the system, you need to deliver the right parts with the system together. That also help a lot. But with the forecast there, we do expect the supplier also should prepare some inventory there, which really can help to shorten the entire lead time of the machine and the parts.
I will play the next video right away. This is Gina from Samsung.
Hello everyone, this is Gina Park and I am the head of procurement team at Semiconductor Division of Samsung Electronics. I am glad to send this video clip to share Samsung's situation and current semiconductor market condition with ASML's main suppliers. As you well know, fast-growing semiconductor market faced the inflation second half of last year. Mobiles and data companies had cut their demands for the chips due to intimidated market condition. This condition brought oversupply, which triggered a drop in sales price throughout the supply sector. Memory is having a harder time compared to foundry due to its business metrics of planned production, not by order. The entire semiconductor market volume this year is expected to be around $540 billion, and the number is about 11% shrink from last year. Memory companies, including Samsung, has been cutting the production to deal with oversupply and trying to secure cost competitiveness through cost reduction activities. These actions will bring us a momentum to push forward next year for semiconductor business. High-performance computing, AI, and autonomous driving will create new volume for the growth of semiconductor business. Samsung expects semiconductor market size to reach $1 trillion by year 2030, which is double from this year. And this number also aligns with expectations from the consulting firms like McKinsey and Gartner. We do know this is coming, so even though we are in an extreme downturn, we are executing our investments as we have planned for the future. 3 nano for foundry, new fab in Taylor, expansion for DRAM line, and R&D fab are ongoing to meet the future. We all know the opportunity will follow after the crisis. All these actions we do now will turn out to positive results at the moment of opportunity. All these actions cannot be done solely by Samsung. We need all of our suppliers and members of suppliers to cooperate to lead all of us to success. I understand you are also struggling in this downturn. ASML has been the leader in scanner technology, and it is the most important partner to entire semiconductor industry. New technology like EUV will immediately relate to success of chip makers' next generation's product. This means if there is a delay of tool development of ASML or initial performance loss, they will cause critical loss in chip makers' production roadmap. I would like to underline again, ASML and suppliers' responsibilities are much greater in management of chip makers and future of semiconductor industry. So, we ask ASML's suppliers to meet the deadline for next generation product, secure excellence in quality, and prepare the capacity for the long term. Lastly, time is not on our side as of this moment. But if Samsung, ASML, and you suppliers work together to prepare for future, I am sure we can create the brighter new world for the next generation.
Thank you, Stella and Gina. Okay, I'd like to summarize a bit what these two ladies has been said, and add also some more remarks. The first one, complex. Customer needs are becoming more complex and yet diverse. Okay, even if we deliver the same product to the same customers, due to different application differences, different node requirement, different product mix, they might have totally different requirements on the same products. Okay, so it's getting more complex to the way we deliver, the way we serve our customers. And faster, better, cheaper, you also heard from Gina, ASML's performance is heavily impacting their performances, their success. So as our product and services are becoming more important, customer expectation is getting higher as well. It's faster, better, and cheaper, of course. And for dynamics, I don't want to repeat, this has been the theme from Peter, from Edward, from Bruce, and Tony, as well as Kervin. I think market dynamics plays the key in this industry. So here I don't want to repeat the message. We just need to prepare for next upturn. Deliver beyond commitment. This is a bit challenging. We thought, or some of you might thought that, okay, this is the spec, this is commitment I have, right? So as long as I deliver it, customer pays. I would say this is not wrong. However, customers expect us beyond this. I use an example, EUV as an example. About 2-3 years ago, we started to deliver 3600 to our customer, to our main customers, where they use our system to make 3nm chips, right? And in the meantime, before our next MPI, which is 3800, into the market, they are now asking us to deliver the new system for N2 already. So how could they, without our MPI, they deliver N2 capacity, which means not only use our 3600 for today's product, they use our product today to develop technology for tomorrow. So with that, it is easy to understand why they expect us always to deliver beyond our commitment, because our product is not only serving their requirement today, but also for tomorrow. Okay. So I'd like to go back to the header, the key message. This is the interesting topic. I think everybody talk about this, the competition. So besides EUV and immersion, I think we mentioned several times already about I-line, KRF, EOStar, HMI metrology. So what happens is that our competitors come after us on N28 as well as N3 or even N2. So this is scary because when they penetrate this market, this is what our customers are building new capacity for, right? So when the situation comes like this, okay, story might comes like this, they gain more market share in the new market, in the new fab. From there, they make some more money. With some more money, they invest on new product, new technology. With new technology, they penetrate more market, all right? So it is scary, actually. So our competitors are coming after us, from where we are weak with. And that is I&I, KRF, EOStar, and metrology tools. So we must act on aggressive cost reduction right now. With that, I thank you for your attention. So stage is yours. Edward.
Thanks, Bruce, for the sharing. So ASML shares some common goals with our customers. ASML shares common goals with our customers, and we, as ASML, needs to fulfill requests from our customers as a market leader. So in our next session, we will invite Edward again to talk about the focuses in collaboration between supplier and ASML.
艾斯摩尔和客户共享同样的目标。身为市场的领导者，我们必须要满足客户的期待跟要求。接下来，我们会邀请 Edward 再次来到台上，跟我们分享跟供应商合作的时候，我们关注的焦点会是什么。Welcome, Edward.
We switched, yep, the mic's on, thank you very much. Like Bruce was saying, I had the opportunity to discuss and negotiate many times with Gina from the previous video. And that wasn't always as nice as the way she presented here. I can tell you, when you talk about a multi-billion euro deal, it gets pretty tough. But this is also where, like Bruce was saying, some of your help on the quality and on the cost in order to stay competitive. Success through collaboration. That's the topic I'd like to spend the next half an hour on. So let's first start with looking at what worked very well over the last year, which I'd like to thank everybody for in the relationship between ASML and its partners and suppliers. So we continue to improve our material availability. We significantly reduced the amount of escalations, although I'd like to still stress, and I think Tony talked about it as well, we cannot deliver enough DUV systems this year, and we can also not deliver enough yield stars this year. So even, everybody talks about a crisis, we need to ship more systems. We're still disappointing customers in the world, which we need to work on. Now, we have a metric for this, it's called L3 escalation, right? If you don't know what an L3 escalation is, that's very good news. There's a few people in here, right? There's a few people in here. You never heard about that. Yeah. He's Dutch. He's very cynical. I'm sure he's heard about it. If not, then he will hear about it in half an hour. So try to stay away from L3 escalation, right? So this is our highest level of escalation, board level. You're inhibiting shipments in the fabs in the world. It's not a place you want to be. But we still have them today because they're limiting our DUV and yield star output. Now in the middle you see we continue to grow our output. Thank you for that. We deliver a lot of NPIs. We have this business model where we innovate a lot of NPIs, and of course we try to produce whatever we create in volume. We grow 30%. We have 100 shipments already of 3600s. I think there's about 40 or 50 of them, as Bruce was saying, even on this island. 1,000 shipments of NXT, and we are about to introduce, I'll talk about that later, in the T of the technology, QLTC, about introducing the 3800 and the 5000. In addition, we talked about trust. I think we have quite a bit of trust with our customers. You saw the ladies talk about that, but we continue, only the paranoid survive, so we continue to improve on our trust. That's why we reorganized also our other side of the company still, continue to innovate also in relationship management with our customers, integrating more service, supply chain, account management to have one face to the customer. Something I can really also recommend for you to do that integrated towards us. So these are the things that work very well. Now, a year ago we did a little survey among suppliers. I have a slide on what worked well. I also have a slide on where you have some improvement opportunities for ASML. What worked well is you feel a genuine intent for partnership, like we feel with yourself, good escalation management, fast discussions in case of escalations. There's many win-win situations in a growing industry, and we share a lot of knowledge with our suppliers and partners. Now, where you had some recommendations for improvement, let's put it nicely. As you said, we miss a little bit on the strategic alignment. You over-ask because you always want to have enough. We may or may not like that. We ask for you to reduce the lead time, where we feel the risks are not always shared in a fair way. And we'd like to have a bit better balancing of cost versus time to market. You guys are overspending on cost, which later, we have to get rid of because you're so aggressively on time to market. Now, organizational complexity, we're a big company, becoming an increasingly big company with young people that don't necessarily always understand the processes and the way of working of the past. A process and systems, too complex, inconsistency in the planning signals. I didn't know this, I joined sourcing and procurement 2 months ago. Up until recently, we outputted 120,000 planning signals per week to our suppliers. That clearly is something that's way too much. We cannot continue to do that. So we already started a program, which Stefan will talk about that later in our planning and delivery group, to reduce the amount of signals we send into our supply chain significantly, because otherwise this becomes just uncontrollable and unmanageable. Now, a couple of these things, by the way, are just a fact of our business. We're running a complex business. We have multiple factories. We have multiple R&D and development centers where we create the value. So some of these things we cannot just avoid. That's a fact of ASML DNA, and we have to learn how to deal with it. Other things are just waste and are stupid, which we need to improve. So a couple of things we did, related also to planning, related to relationship, similar as we've done on the customer side. We started to transform sourcing and procurement and split planning and delivery off. So Stefan later will talk about the planning and delivery part. He owns that. And I will talk a little bit more about the sourcing and procurement part. One of the transforms we also see, and I'll talk a little bit about that later when we talk about strategy, we want to increase our spend in Asia versus Europe and the US. One of the reasons that I, for instance, own both regions is to make those transfers somewhat easier. We've also transformed our clusters and our centers of excellence into making the whole thing a lot more efficient. It's a little bit too much detail for now, but we can always talk about that later. My boss, Wayne, is part of the board now, so we improved the reach and the strategy and the impact of Wayne also significantly. We assigned, on the bottom left, dedicated senior leaders to our major partners and suppliers that have direct interaction with our staff, with myself and with Wayne, should there be issues or should there be help needed together with the suppliers. Because we depend, obviously, for a great deal on you. We spend about 80% of our cost on parts and submodules and about 20% on integration. So we are, and it's one of our success models, we are an integration company. We're not a vertically integrated company, but we're an integration company. We design and things that we cannot find suppliers for or we feel is too near and dear to our heart, we will do in our own factories. But ideally, as much as possible, we will outsource and we will find partners to deliver. That's been our model. That's allowed agility. That's allowed also to find good cost points, but we need to continue to do that. Now, how to navigate through all of this? And the abbreviation came up already more often, which is good, QLTCS. So I'll talk you through a little bit about QLTCS in the next few slides, where we feel that these components will help us meet the growth. In addition, we want to reshape the supply chain and prepare ourselves for 2030 growth. So there's two components. There's more, but I'll just concise the two components. For the top two portion, again, we have an NPI process and we have an HVM process. They should be connected pretty well together. So in the future, we'd like our major suppliers to be able to support us in both of these processes. So we'd like to be co-located with you, close to our value creation centers, close to our factories, to work with our development engineers in the NPI phase, for fast introduction. Tony was saying, I'd like to only make a few prototypes and then I'd like to go into HVM. That can only be if you're close in the vicinity. On the other end, if we want to go HVM, we'd like you to be on a cost curve with us. We may be able to afford a little bit in the NPI space, but after 1 or 2 systems, we need to go aggressively down in cost. So you need to find a location. I honestly don't really care where that is, where you can make the cost structure that we need in order to keep Bruce happy with a significant market share in I-line and KRF. Otherwise, other people will eat our lunch. If we just focus on NPI, we're too expensive, we will never get the volume. That's a chicken and the egg. We cannot innovate anymore, and then the whole thing stops. So we need the volume. That's also, and that comes to my second piece, let's say there's a high likelihood that when you need to follow us on a cost curve, that will be here in Asia. So our strategy is to NPI close to our value creation centers and our development centers, and to more and more be able to do HVM in Asia. So give you some numbers. By the way, they're in our yearly report. So we spend about, of our total spend, 7% lands in Asia. We like that to go up by a factor of 4. So we want to be 30-ish% spending in Asia in the next few years. Now, some people ask me, is that next year? No, probably not. Is that 2 years from now? I don't know. But within 3 to 4 years, we need to be there. Now, compound that with the growth that we predict, right? A factor of 2, to be pessimistic. So 2 times 4 is 8. That's the amount of spend we would like to increase, preferably amongst you. But there is a catch, right? Bruce was saying it. We can only grow if we, improve our market share in KRF and I-line, and we maintain our market share in immersion. And that the caveat there is hit the cost, that we can create the right cost of ownership for our customers. We will innovate. All our platforms will produce more wafers per hour, more wafers per day. But in the end, if the equation, when I divide the wafers per day over the amount of euros I need to spend, if that equation is not competitive to Canon, it won't work, right? My value, my price is significantly higher than Canon. Our customers are willing to pay for that. They see the value, but the equation needs to be competitive. Nobody's interested in having 100 low productivity systems. They will always prefer to have 50 instead of 100 productivity systems because it's more manageable. So technically, with the same productivity or double the productivity, you can ask the same price. There's one caveat: the availability also needs to be there, right? Because if a high productivity system, I'll tell you an example later, goes down, you lose quite a bit of money running a semiconductor fab. So that's a bit about the top. Let's talk about the traditional QLTC, quality. Tony had a couple of good examples in his factory. Over my last 23 years, I probably will do that over cocktails. I have 1,000 examples from very nasty meetings with our customers, where there's 2 things. One is, if we are pushing the boundaries of technology in EUV or immersion, there will be a certain tolerance for learning. There will never be tolerance for mistake. For learning, there will be tolerance. For this stuff, there's 0 tolerance, right? Just not meeting specs according to TPD, stupid things like banded pins where packaging was not done properly. Or example from Intel, we didn't see it, we shipped something that had a discoloration. Now, that in itself can be okay. A scratch, we realize there's some surface treatment that leave a little bit of a scratch, that can be okay, right? We just need to, our customers basically does not want to see the defectivity potentially coming out of the scratch. So if we created a disturbance notification saying we tested it, there's no defectivity, this can be okay. If we just ship this, or a supplier says, well, hopefully ASML doesn't see it, so let's go do it, that is very, very bad. Because this part will have to come out of the system. Customer will not accept it if we cannot 100% guarantee that there's no defect related to this cosmetic or this polishing or whatever is the root cause of the defect. So be transparent. Give us what happened, and if it's not inhibiting the functionality, it doesn't cause any defectivity. Nobody's interested in throwing stuff away. Nobody is interested in extra cost. But when you talk about it, it could perfectly be okay for Intel. Just as a few examples. Now, another one is DOA. This is the worst one. If you want Bruce to lose sleep overnight in front of a customer, this is it. So imagine you have a system down. Let's take an NXT, 5,000 wafers per day. So you have a system down, 12 hours, which we call a long down, an extra long down. So it's not about 2 days or so. 12 hours is the worst that can happen to our system. We call it an XLD. We allow 1, maybe 2 XLDs per year on an emergent system. So 5,000 wafers per hour, 12 hours, 60,000 wafers in front of the machine. Now, our customers, particularly at the front end, use typically dedicated. So this wafer is married to this machine, and for the critical layers, the first few layers, it will have to come back to the same machine. So you cannot use another machine to get rid of your 60,000 wafers. This thing is stacked, 60,000 wafers. Now, service guy found the problem after 11 hours, right? He puts in the part is DOA. Now the meeting with the customer becomes pretty bad, because hopefully you have another part. If not, you have to ship it from somewhere else. You may end up at 24 hours. 120,000 wafers in front of the tool. That's the numbers we talk about. Now, you've seen from the graph that we were in a pretty good place at the end of 21. We basically are back 2 years ago. So there's always a lot of reasons why this is, right? The pressure on output, new people make mistakes. Sometimes you also hear from suppliers, well, it's no fault found, so the test coverage is not good enough in the TPD. Can be true. I don't care. It's our joint problem, right? You shouldn't say ASML test coverage is not good enough. You should say our test coverage is not good enough. And there are suppliers that think, well, I can ship an extra part. That's not the solution to a system with 120,000 wafers. Now, the system is back up. Now, this system needs to digest 60,000 wafers on 5,000 wafers per day. If you look at the fab, and we do this analysis, you look at the WIP in the fab, it takes about a month to 6 weeks before this system the downtime of the system is out of the WIP graph. Because the system is running 5,000, it can only digest this extra in the surplus, right? From 92% availability or utilization to 100. So this entire fab is bound by this one system that was down. You have this 6 to 8 billion euro investment that is running 1 to 2% less for a month because of one DOA on one supplier. That's what we need. That's what we're working with. So it's extremely, extremely important to make sure that the quality is right. And if there is a problem, be open and transparent, and not one day before you ship the part to one of our factories. Right? That's about quality, cycle time and cost. Now we talked about EUV. Yes, we're the only game in town. What we do see on the newer EUV tools, and this is effectively Moore's law. You see the green resolution go down over the amount of systems. So the amount of functionality it can print improves, and on the other side you see the cost. So it is okay if the cost goes up. If the linearity is lower than the linearity with which you can increase the functionality, now Moore's law is still alive. We see that for the newer systems in EUV, the scale is no longer linear. As a matter of fact, the scale is steeper up than the Moore's law is going down. This means we're basically effectively losing application space. If you lose application space, because people cannot just commercially sell the feature for the price which we offer, you lose the EUV system. Then you lose the deep UV system. You lose the I-line system. You lose all of the systems, and the market will basically stop. So this is the challenge we have in EUV. The challenge in deep UV we talked about. That's a competitive one-to-one competition with our good friends of Canon. They make a less productivity tool than us, but their price is more than linear lower than the productivity we do. I'll show you later in the technology slide what we are doing about that, but we need your help. So we'd like for us to make sure that we have a pipeline of about 15% of cost reduction ideas. Some of them need to come out of the commercial space where we can do more volume with you. You have better leverage on your suppliers. Some of it needs to come out, work together, and design for cost. I said before, we focused on, as a company, getting EUV to work. We're now going to focus on cost more and more in order to stop the market share loss in the lower type of technology, so that we will have engineering capability to work with you on the design to cost. So every supplier, and I know there's a lot of people already working with you, we're asking for ideas and cost reductions in order for all of us to stay competitive. Now output, 21 output, 22 output, 23 output. This is about where we think we will end up. And again, the deep UV, the light blue portion here, is limited by the supply chain. It's not limited by the market space in 23. And we deliberately put 24 and 25 together. You'll see it's more than twice the 23 output. So we expect from a revenue perspective, 24 to be flattish, but from, as Peter said, we will pre-build. So to you, the supply chain, this should be invisible. The flatness should be invisible, because we will pull in the material. In some cases, we will pull it in all the way to Veldhoven or into Linkau to pre-build, because of we need to hit the cycle time when the market is there. In some cases, we will leave it in the supply chain, but we'll earmark it as us, such that we can get it in quickly and meet the end of 24, 25 demand. So don't be mistaken. From a supply chain perspective, we are going to grow in 24, but we will not be able to recognize all that revenue to the external world. That revenue will be almost on top of 25. Technology. Now, EUV is going to be exciting end of the year, and exciting early next year, 3800. So the successor of 3600. This is where our customers will do N2. This is the system that will go into the new Hsinchu fab at TSMC being built. This is going to go into Hillsborough and into Samsung Korea for 2 nanometer or the equivalent DRAM node early next year. On the right side is still an R&D system, so an high-NA EXE system. We want to ship this to one of our logic customers towards the end of the year, early next. So big innovation, a lot of MPI. I know we put a lot of stress also on our supply chain to get this MPI going. Now, more one more, yeah, more partially also locally here. So 870, this is the KRF machine where we put the NXT wafer stage. This is our piece of the competitiveness. We will significantly improve the productivity on KRF. We will, in terms of productivity, we will kick Canon's ass by far. So Canon machine is way less productive, but remember, it's about the equation between the wafers per day divided by the euros. Of course, when we put this NXT wafer stage, this NXT wafer stage was originally designed for immersion. We use our technology strength on commonality, a module buildness, and we put this wafer stage in an NXT. We have enough photons from Cymer, and we can get all the way to 4,000 wafers per day. So multiply 400 times 24, you get into the 8, 9, 10,000 wafers per day space. Now, I hate to imagine if that thing's down for 12 hours. So we're commanding higher value than Canon, but it needs to run, well, it needs first a little bit of cost reduction, because again, this thing was designed for immersion, it was never designed for KRF. So we need your help for this system to make it price competitive. We're doing our end on creating the value in terms of productivity, and the quality needs to make sure that we are going into XLDs, not 1 or 2 per year, but maybe 1 per 2 years type of stuff. So this will be quality to the next level. That's the challenge on the left side. Challenge on the right side, both, by the way, heavy competitive space. On the right side is where my factory colleagues from this morning are playing in. Also a productivity space, right? Again, you know, we need to be able to valualize our cost with more productivity, lower cycle times. The market is much more volatile. Will we get the order? Will we not get the order? We want to say yes, right? One of our esteemed previous CEOs, Eric Maurice, he says, we will only say yes to the customer. That's the first rule of sales, always say yes. You can say yes, but that's okay, but you need to say yes. Right, so on the right side, we will say yes, right? Yeah, be yes, but if it's competitiveness and we can sell 30 yield stars, the answer will be yes, and we'll give a few more gray hairs to Tony. That's the idea. Tony is already enthusiastic about that. The same for HMI. Innovation is huge. We're starting to work with HMI on an, let's call it on an ASML productivity principle. So also there, faster wafer stages, multi-beam, trying to get to the resolution, innovation over multiple areas, highly exciting, but lead time and cost are very, very important. Now, sustainability, I think Kate will talk a little bit about the details. We talked about the EU directive. One thing is very near and dear to my heart, also cost. A very simple way of saving the planet is reuse. If you look at the left side, I hate to use the term, but it's almost a crime, right? We have 900 million euro of parts at your place or at our place that we can reuse. We just need focus. I need you to stop shipping new. I need you to repair. It will also help on the cost, by the way. It's part of the 15%. You can help on the cost. Over 5,000 open repair orders in our supply chain that are there for more than a year. So it's clearly also, and again, this is both of us, it's clearly a lack of focus. We've been busy shipping new parts. Sometimes we've actually been able to ship machines using repair parts, but we should focus on getting this done. It will help on cost, it will help on ESG, it will help on many, many different ways. So prioritize in the middle column, take ownership. We'd like suppliers that come back to us and say, hey, I know how to repair this thing. Because I'm not interested in taking the last euro out of ASML, and I'm interested in getting to a long-term relationship where we can both benefit. We also need to simplify. I know it's very annoying. We send back a part. You have to take a look at it. You make a quote. We have to look at the quote. We think, well, can it be more cheaper, more expensive? And then we say yes or we say no. And we're months in, a lot of administrative effort. So we're working with my team, with our teams in the world, to make this a lot more efficient. We already have suppliers that just take turnkey ownership. They buy back the part from us at a certain price. Sometimes they're lucky, right? It's only a screw. Sometimes they're unlucky, it's unrepairable, but they just give us back another part. Not necessarily a new one, but a repaired one. And this is where you can go up in the value chain. You're de-worrying ASML, you take on more risk, and you can take a little bit more value. Because otherwise this is not controllable for us. Okay, we talked a little bit about reshaping the supply chain. We talked about moving focus to Asia. We talked about co-location. What's also very important is the maturity of the supply chain. That's a little bit the third component. So we have these audits. Some of you like them, some of you don't like them. We're going to the next step with SP11, where we start to integrate also a lot of ESG components. Mostly because we like it, in some cases because the government just demands it from us in the world. And you'll see our key suppliers we've already done a few in the world on SP11, and we'll ask for a self-assessment first, and then we'll slowly also come in with our audit teams. What we're also doing, and I need to speed up a little bit, is, and you see here on the right side, we added sustainability as part of SP11. And what we're also doing now, part of the reorg, is set up a supplier collaboration team. So there's always a little bit of digital reaction among suppliers. Some say, well, you come in and you claim you help us, but you want to take us over. That's not the intent. We genuinely want to make sure that both companies perform better. We have a lot of knowledge in manufacturing, in yield, in managing material, which we can share with you in some kind of a collaborative form. We have a special department for that. We started building the department in Europe. We've also started building a small group in the US. We will start next year also with a small group of experts in Asia that in case of, we'd like you to be proactive and say, hey, I have this yield opportunity here. Can you help us? That's the ideal scenario. If you're in an L3 escalation, we will be a little bit more forceful in offering the help, right? So, but ideally, we like to do this in a very collaborative way. And we have some very good results over the last year in managing the upturn that we went through. Now, what we need to do together, ownership, engage on ideas, a consistent approach. I'm very hot on that. Need to organize the right support for you to improve the industrialization. Again, we're not after your margin, we're after waste. Collaborate, challenge, and we on our side will significantly reduce the annoyance of rescheduling orders, pulling in, rerouting all the time. Now, we talked about the growth. This is the opportunity. Again, a little bit of chicken and the egg. We need to hit the cost. Then this thing, as Peter said, is definitely achievable. And we like to do significantly more relatively with all of you in the Asian supply chain, because we strongly feel that the quality can be there, and that also the cost and the capacity, the capability can be here in Asia. Now, summarizing, I think we hit all of the 6 components here of the circle. And last but not least, I have a little bit of more detail compared to Peter on the trust formula. We're looking for, we're not We're not hit and run. We don't like, with our customers, it's not like you sell something and you go away. We're here for the long run. We believe in our end market. We believe in our joint capability. It will just be a lot of hard work, and we want to do it along this equation. A little bit more explanation, capability. So we need to have the right output, the right innovation, the right cost, and the right sustainability. The reliability is say what you do and do what you say in terms of cycle time, quality, availability. So quality availability will become increasingly important as the productivity of our systems go up because we need to be competitive. I tried to explain that a little bit in an example. I think you're more than welcome to join Bruce in one of the meetings with TSMC when you talk about a system that's down. You experience a little bit of the dynamics. Openness, dialogue, collaboration. If you have an issue, be open. If you have a discoloration, you have a scratch, be open. We can work with it. Don't throw it away yet. We want to save the cost. And it's divided by self-interest, a fair share of the risk. Again, we're not looking for margin. We like everybody to be profitable. If you take a little bit more risk on the innovation, we will reward that. If you're risk-free, we will also adapt our pricing accordingly. I think that's a bit what I wanted to talk about. I leave the floor to our hosts. Thank you.
Thanks, Edward. Edward emphasized the importance of Q, L, T, C, S, and the trust equation. So we believe we can closely collaborate with all of you, all our suppliers, and share the same success.
Edward 强调了 Q、L、T、C、S， 还有客户信任的重要，让我们一起合作，一起达到我们的目标。艾斯摩尔不只强调营运的成长，我们也承诺致力于推动永续的发展。
Moving on, ASML not only focusing on growing business, at the same time, we're also dedicated in driving ESG initiatives. So our next speaker, Kate Huang, part of our business performance and strategy team, is dedicated in ESG initiative with our suppliers. So let's welcome Kate to the stage, and she will share and shed some light on the ESG topic.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. So this is Kate. Thank you, Edward, for mentioning my name several times already. So I believe ESG sustainability might not be a new topic for many of you. Even within today, we have mentioned many times. And we believe it is important that ASML to share our ambition in sustainability, how and what we do it, and how we can work together. So ASML, with years of proven success, we push technology further and enable to address some of the toughest human beings' issues. With microchip widely used in different areas, we have from climate change, resource scarcity, health issues, and some more. But challenges still come along the way. The energy consumption, which is also critical to ASML, more waste with poor recycling rate, social challenges, for example, like conflict minerals. So there are voices and needs from our stakeholders that we need to take the responsibility. ESG sustainability is no longer a nice-to-have element, but there are many forces pushing us forward. Government and regulation is definitely the biggest one. So there's a new directive called CSRD, also mentioning earlier today, that European Union requires us to start reporting our ESG data from 2025. A similar approach also in Taiwan, that listed companies have to start reporting ESG data starting from 2022. So this kind of Green Act regulation also defined in Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, Korea, and many other Asia countries, that ESG data reporting becoming a standard of companies' annual reporting. So we also have voices from our customers, since we are part of their value chain, from our investors, and many more. So this is why SML put ESG sustainability in such a high priority in our strategic agenda. We aim to be the leader in sustainability. We want to contribute to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. SML is committed to take the responsibility to be successful in business without sacrificing environment and society. So what ESG means and what is SML is aiming to achieve. So this is the breakdown of our strategy for our sustainable strategy in 9 themes in environment, social, and governance, ESG. Environment, that's the most straightforward one. It's about greenhouse gas emission, waste, air and water pollution. And greenhouse gas, that's the focus for today. I will share SML's commitment, actions to take in later slides. Social, that's about people and communities. So topics like health, safety, labor, diversity, and some more. Governance, that is about corporate governance. If we run the business with ethics, transparency, compliance, and proper reporting. So ESG, that is the framework to develop roadmap and actions under sustainable structure. So among these 9 themes in ESG, number 1, 2, and 4 are the most relevant to our supply chain. Number 1, energy efficiency and climate action. So SML committed net zero 2040. This is the focus today. I will share in a minute. Circular economy, that is about waste, reuse, and repair. So that is why we put reuse and repair in such a high priority in our supply operation with you, because we already commit zero waste by 2030. Responsible supply chain, that we engage with our supplier to minimize the negative impact in social environment. About circular economy and responsible supply chain, we still expect a detailed roadmap coming next year. So we will focus on the energy efficiency and climate action today. Okay, so first of all, SML commits net zero 2040. That includes everything with SML's own operations, also the activities in the value chain of in the upstream and downstream of the value chain. So in the upstream emissions, including our supply chain, that we commit net zero 2030. So what net zero means, if we put it simple, that's the balance between the greenhouse gas that is produced and that is removed. And net zero can only be achievable when we maximizing the effort of decarbonization. So if we back to the timeline, SML commits our own operation to be net zero by 2025. Our upstream activities net zero by 2030. our downstream activities to be net zero by 2040. 这边我想用中文跟各位解释一下，因为我觉得它的概念比较复杂一些。那基本上就是 ASML 已经commit 在2040年前要达成净零。那关于我们的上游供应链的部分呢，我们承诺在2030年要达成净零。所以如果看整个时间轴的话， ASML 自己营运的本身，我们的承诺是在2025年前。那我们的上游活动包含供应链的部分是在2030，那我们的下游活动的部分是在2040。And I would like to share a little bit more about the greenhouse gas background, and I believe this will bring you a better picture. The greenhouse gas protocol, that's a global standardized framework to measure and manage greenhouse gas emission. So we have these several types of greenhouse gas, not just the CO2. And in the company's point of view, we view the emissions separated to 3 scopes: Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. Taking ASML as an example, so if our Scope 1, that's the emission from our operation, means the emission from our office, factories, facilities, boilers, generators, vehicles. So this is usually the first step of decarbonization because we have full control of it. And Scope 2, that's the indirect emission. That's the emission from purchased electricity. So by adopting a renewable energy powered by solar or wind, comparing to the energy powered by coal, the emission will be totally different. So that is Scope 2. Scope 3, also indirect emission. And that's basically, Scope 3, basically everything else, the activities to cover, to support the business running. And it's separated to upstream. Upstream is at the left-hand side and the downstream at the right side. So in the upstream part, it covers purchased goods and service, which are our supply chain, also transportation, leased properties, and some more. So ASML commits our Scope 1 direct emission, our Scope 2 indirect emission from purchased electricity, also our upstream part of the Scope 3 to be net zero by 2030. Our downstream part of the Scope 3, the major part is product use, which means the emissions from operating ASML's machine in our customer site. That one we commit net zero 2040. 那这一页我也想用中文跟大家补充一下，基本上这边就是关于一个公司怎么在看这些温室气体排放的一个架构，会主要分成3个范畴，范畴1、2、3。那1的部分就是营运造成的所有的排放，来自我们自己的厂房啊、办公室啊、锅炉啊、发电机等等车辆这样。然后 Scope 2的话，就是来自我们所购买的电力所产生的排放。所以假设今天是使用风电，跟今天是使用燃煤发电，那它的排放量就是会完全的不同。那 Scope 3基本上就是所有在整个价值链的部分有的活动，就是需要的活动，然后来 support 就是在这个可以就是 ASML 的营运这样。所以这些活动是不属于 ASML 直接管辖的。那其中我们的供应链就是在我们的Scope 范畴3的上游的部分。那在 Scope 1、2、3的Scope 1、2跟上游的 Scope 3的部分，我们承诺在2030前达成净零。那在 Scope 3的下游的部分，包含我们机器的机台的使用，那这部分我们是承诺在2040年前要达成净零。Okay, so we need your help. Without your participation, we won't be able to realize the commitment. Our account leads will start the discussion with you shortly about greenhouse gas emission, to sign a commitment with SML for net zero by 2030, and to have a roadmap and resource plan ready to support the commitment. Also to share your scope 1, 2, 3 emission data with SML. And we will start with top spending suppliers and then gradually expand the scope. Okay. So SML already committed our supply chain emission net zero by 2030. We need you to join us together in the journey to be successful in business without sacrificing our next generations. Thank you.
As you can see, ESG now is a must and not good to have anymore. So with proper priority of ESG within ASML organization, we eagerly invite all our suppliers to join us to take the responsibility together.
ESG 已经是势在必行的了，艾斯摩尔已经致力于 ESG 的发展，我们也邀请供应商跟我们一起扛起这个责任。
Earlier session, so we've covered voice of ASML customers, we've covered supplier collaboration, and then ESG by Kate. So next, we will have our 15 minutes of break to refresh yourself. So tea, coffee, and snacks are offered and available outside.
现在是休息时间，外面备有咖啡跟点心，请各位享用。请在2点30的时候准时回来，谢谢。
So please be back on 2:30. We will start our next session on 2:30. Hello, everybody. We hope you enjoy your break. Without further ado, next we will be playing the recording from our CTO, Martin van den Brink, to look at ASML technology roadmap so we can take a peek into the future.
接下来 CTO Martin van den Brink 会带来一段影片，跟大家说明我们的 technology roadmap 为何。让我们来看这一段影片。
Was it 50 minutes, right? Oh, 35. The real speech is 35. We'll try. So the title is very inventive. You never saw this title. So we're going to immediately to the content. And I'd like to cover 4 points. I'd like to go to the customers' needs, which is a bit more technical than the old presentation you saw. I'd like to get to the key innovations. I will not have the time to go through the whole list, which I did sometimes in the past. But I also found out that some of you losing patience if I do that, so I'm going to be a bit more shorter. And try to highlight a few fundamentals. And if I start with the market, and this is probably also a way for me to connect to my colleagues this morning, I think we continue to have a very strong view on the future growth of semiconductor. So this is not about us, this is about our customers. There's no limit yet to the connected world, there's no limit on the climate change efforts moving forward, as well as the economic shifts like, healthcare and stuff like this. So this is message one, very strong in the future. So then you look to shrink and improving on computing. Now, a lot of people say Moore's law is dead, and Moore's law forever, and but Moore's law is only a few years. What really looking here is the amount of calculation speed. I believe I showed this earlier. This one could Ray Kurzweil, where you see the horizontal amount of calculations per euro. And you see a 120 years improvement, of which the semiconductor and Moore's law is only a few years. And if you're looking to the Intel roadmap, has been published in '65, Gordon Moore. It's a 2x per 2 year. First it was 2x per year and then 2x per 2 year. And it was pretty accurate, not in the fashion, as you say, because I think the fashion changed overall. Even I look relatively conservative with a tie and a suit. I'm still different than those guys. But they were very precise on the computing in '65, that you could have a computing in a grocery shop selling. And if you look how Intel looks today, this is the animation into the more recent data from Intel, showing the path to 30 billion. And the recent product, the Pontevideo, with the 3D integration system, is well on the way to get to a trillion transistor on a single chip or a single device moving forward. And not everything is coming by 2D shrink. A substantial part is coming from the system integration, which is also predicted by Gordon Moore in '65, and many people say Gordon Moore is dead. If you really look to his article, this thing is continuing to happen. Hence, I make a short repeat on also things I said last time, but this is for more people a bit more complex. This is the last 50 years or so semiconductor, and this is the clock frequency. The clock frequency of devices stopped increasing around 2005, where the power density was preventing to keep the clock frequency up. However, the shrink, what I call litho density, is the shrink we believe in, and transistor density is what our customers do. So there's a bit of difference between the litho shrink and the transistor shrink. Continue to go down. And yes, although you see it's still going up, we're projecting a bit more flattening off, which I think is unavoidable if you look to the physics, but still continue at least for another 10 years. And that translates into what we call the EAP, energy efficient performance, which is the time per operation times the operations per second. So you pick the speed or the power, but both go up, go in a super exponential rate of 4x in 2 years. This is in fact the major innovation of semiconductor the last 50 years, where Gordon talks about 2x per 2 years, we talk about 4x in 2 years. And it came pre-2005, we call it pre-Dinar scaling, purely out of shrink. And since then it's been more difficult, and you see also that is flattening off. And that would be a problem if this would be the only answer we have. However, as I showed also last year, this is Mark Lu, TSMC, who said, okay, yes, maybe it's true that on device level we're losing, but on a system level, we can still drive this system efficiency through further system integration to around 3x per 2 years. So slightly less than historically 4x per 2 years, but 3x per 2 years. Given the continuous hungry of our customers, customers in getting more compute power, is still substantial. If you draw this into my system, or my total overview, you see that we have another 20 years of innovation of our customers and to our customers, and therefore we feel very bullish and continue very bullish on the industry. And this is a bit of an elaborate story on logic. I like to remind everyone, not new slides again, although there's one new, more recent slide. You see that both DRAM and NAND are continuing to scale their efforts, and both are going to shrink down in density, as well as bonding density. With that introduction, I'd like to go to the ASML part of it and explain you that in every phone, this iPhone, we see a chip, and if we zoom into the chip, we get to the heart of why we're sitting here, is lithography. All lithography does is, being summarized in this picture, is a dimension, and a critical dimension, with a certain dimension tolerances, a certain roughness, and a certain accuracy. And this is what we call edge placement. And everything from day one, this is not new, this is not something from recent years. This is done already from the beginning. This is all the hardware that goes. If we can manage both the overlay, edge placement, which this is the overlay is the difference between placement of 2 layers, as well the CD, as well the local variations, we are in business. And if you look how we like to do that, we like to do it in a holistic way, where we have the equipment, the litho equipment in the top, not a new slide, but slightly different layout. Left bottom, computational metrology and lithography, and the right-hand side, optical and E-beam metrology and inspection. And we connect it through strong application products. To make it a bit more visible, take the same picture. We are mapping it to a real SEM measurement. As you see, that SEM measurement comes from a wafer, which has been measured on multiple occasions. This is a DRAM structure, by the way. And we're just mapping all those pictures on top of each other. We create our movie, and you get a bit of a feeling what roughness and CD variation is. And then we make a budget. We do it at ASML. And this is relatively new, not new this year, but in the last couple of years, where we were listening to overlay and CD only, but we now try to look to the whole problem and to see how we could help the customer whole way. And we separate the thing in overlay errors, which is the classical overlay, OPC errors, which are offsets on the mask we're calculating to compensate the nonlinearity in the mask of the imaging process, global CDO errors, which are uniform over the wafer, local errors on the left, both in placement as a size. In reality, it looks a bit different. This is still an animation, but still a more practical view of life. You see here the litho in the center. You see the OPC on the left. You see the edge on the right in the CMP and the various metrology steps. And you see how we try to connect all of that through what we call a virtual computer platform. We can connect the data so that we can, as the best piece of equipment in the factory, we are the place where we correct those errors. So most equipment have less of no die-to-die or point-to-point control. Stepper has, and that's why we are in space. Now let's go to some of those elements. And I'd like to start with E-beam. Not a new picture, but still for those who have not seen this, you see the defect size from left to right, getting smaller and smaller, and the productivity. Now, for those familiar with E-beam, electrons are charged particles, don't like each other, so you like to have many of them in a square millimeter, or a cubic millimeter. They don't like each other, you get a blurred image. So there's a fundamental dependency called Coulomb interaction here, which you see that with E-beam, the smaller you get, the more difficult it gets. That's why we are in EUV and not in E-beam lithography. But for metrology, you have a bit more forgiving since you don't have to cover 100% of the wafer. Today we are in single beam, and we plan to go to multi-beam, generation 1, which is out there since last year, the 5x5. We go into a generation 2 with, and remember these are logarithmic scale, so these are big things. We go into a substantial thing. We're still, from a productivity point of view, behind optical. But over time, we will get to multi-column systems. And we think we get probably not to the same level of optics, because nothing beats optics, as we know from litho point of view, the same for metrology in terms of productivity. But we're getting close, and where we're going to effectively win with this whole thing over time, this is years, not next month, is that we get our capture range of defects at a much higher level than optical, because it gets blurry and more blurry. The products we are aiming at short term as EUV wafer print check is a way to find defects on the mask. And again, high physical inspection and on-off monitoring, and getting to a bigger and bigger portion of the inspection mark. You see here the products lined up of what you have today, the 1100, the multi-beam with the single beam tools, and lining up how it goes moving forward. And this is for us, next to the litho piece, one of the most challenging projects we have here. So there's a lot of work to get this complexity into our customers. And what we have shown today at key customers, that our multi-beam gets a 5x improvement to single beam, which is helping some, but not enough to drive the market to big volume. So then my next point is on metrology. And I'd like you to use this slide. It has been designed by one of our application engineers in the field. And he looks to the space of metrology in two axes. We call it spatial frequency on the horizontal axis and temporary frequency on the vertical axis, or time and space. And then you see multiple blocks. If you have a stable, the temporary axis is defined in stable versus wafer-to-wafer variation within wafer, so more frequent. On the bottom is on the wafer scale, on the field scale, on the die scale. So up to the right top, the light blue section, that is almost hopeless. Nobody knows how to deal with that, so we have to make it as small as possible. But there's a substantial space we can make a correction. For instance, mask correction on die level needs to be stable. We do this OPC with customers. Feedback is done by metrology. When the errors are stable from wafer to wafer, we can use metrology feedback loops, which is more efficient than alignment, to get the whole thing under control. However, when we get wafer-to-wafer variation, the only chance you have to pick it up the alignment system, where we have a substantial advantage by having a metrology state exposed system. However, there are even things happening within a wafer. Those are often related to heating effects, lens heating effect. We have to have massive modeling and control to get feed-forward corrections into the system so the things will track. And this becomes more and more difficult. You see that here, and a picture is where we see these the higher order corrections. And I did not put the higher order feed-forward correction, but you could have them also. We go to third and fifth order, which in itself drives the complexity model, but also the amount of points you have to measure on the alignment system. And you see, for instance, here, the example how this exploded over time from 2010 for the last 10 years, and how we expect it to go over the next 10 years, a continuous increase of the amount of metrology points, and this is not alignment, this is metrology points per wafer. For us, capturing more and more of the variation so we can meet our accuracy spec. That challenge forces us to drive down a very aggressive roadmap on productivity. Because at the end of the day, our customers building fabs for producing wafer, not for measuring wafers. Measuring is no value add in that sense. So the only way this is affordable, but driving aggressively down the metrology. This is why we are in this market. We couldn't convince at the time traditional suppliers to deal with this fast metrology because they didn't have the trust that cheaper metrology is creating a lot of value. So you see the productivity goes up. This is almost 10x improvement over time between now and the end of this decennium. And you see the various ways how to improve, but we're not only driving down the productivity up, that means small is fast. This is, for those not familiar with this graph, move, acquire, measure. So this is per measurement is the time to take a single measurement. And then you see the green points, what we call process robustness, which is the robustness of the metrology, so it's not confused by the variation in the process of the customer. This is a major headache when it comes to metrology and alignment. You take a measurement, and the measurement should be very robust for any process variation. And then you see that going down, and of course, you see finally the wafer per wafer is going up. That's the light gray. And this is then being calibrated on 2,000 points per wafer. And you see that we're going from a new platform, which we are shipping since this year, towards new light sources, towards MEMS-based color switching, to dual stage and dual sensors. In general, we keep on making products with backwards compatibility, so that whatever product we sell and innovate, we can take that product and also implement in the installed base. And this is helping us by adding not only value on our new machines, but also existing fabs, that those machines doesn't need to be write off and continue to be used by improving particular productivity and overlay, and we can move on both axes. And some of these upgrades are very intense, some of the upgrades are less, but this is what we like to do. It also drives. We're doing something similar on eyeline. Our eyeline market is probably amongst all lithography tools, the market share the lowest. amount of money to gain is limited. But we still think it's important that we can serve our customers in our fab, and hence we are extending our product portfolio with products, upgrades of the 400, as well as the 260, where we have a large field, double field system with much higher productivity than the 400 and a slightly lower resolution, which runs on to close to 400 wafers per hour. This will also launch in the 2025-26 region, and hopefully get us competitive across the line. Now, this is the only platform stays on XT, where everything else moving to NXT. Then, yeah, probably the headache of the day, the 3800E, which is supposed to ship at the end of the year. It looks like this without covers, but the good news is we are able to make images. So we still think we are in check to ship towards the end of the year, although, as usual, these products, we have a bit of a challenge in getting the uptime here, uptime to the level required, given the maturity of some of the modules. So that's our fight today, but we're making good progress. Now, it looks like this. We have two protos at the moment going, the left hand, which is on the floor, and the right hand for our IMEC lab. And if you take a bit of a closer look, it looks like this. And then you see with the covers on, we still think we should be able to ship by the end of the year, but we will not have full functionality tested by then, so we continue to work with our customers on site, which also is a tricky adventure on our behalf, so that will require multiple people to show up at customers. Now, then for all of our products, we are driving productivity like crazy. And I made this in the right sequence, so I started with Apple. The only reason we're in town is because of the imaging. If the imaging is good, we like to get more. And in the current way of doing litho, it's not obvious that you get more. If you get good imaging, you get more. So this is a challenge. So this is a challenging roadmap. We like to go to 400 wafers on every product. You see also the push-up for the cryptofluoride here and the I-line and this whole thing. So this is important. That gets me to my final section, is the fundamentals. And I plan to run a bit out of time. So I already said it on the roadmap. We need to get our integrated cycle time down. We need to get our cost of goods or service down. I mean, some of you have been in the clean room, and what emotion you have when you look at the clean room, you say, you ask yourself, could we do this simpler? Could we do this more effectively? This is still what every time I go down to the floor, this will go through my mind. We have to go to total uptime of our products. So the uptime today on the new products is dangerously low. So this is important. And that means that uptime is not only doing our service and walk away. No, making sure that the uptime at our customer, that means he is willing, after every service action, is willing to allow the product to run the machine, rather than saying, okay, the Vikings are gone, let's do some requalification to make sure it's there. So this is the other point. And of course, we have to drive down environmental footprint. I know this is a bit fashionable, but I still think the future, without considering how you talk about reuse, how you reuse energy consumption, how you make sure you use material with less carbon footprint is important. And we do the ways we like to do that, in many ways, but it includes at least commonality, cross-press platform, because the amount of volume on all those products in itself is on the low side to really get it right. So we need to get more product qualification to get our uptime up and get our learning with a factory up. And of course, we need to burden the engineer who invented the system with the problem. So we like to connect engineering directly with the factory and our manufacturing and our supply chain for getting feedback. So the supply chain for this is also extremely important. Okay, then I like to cover a few fundamentals. First of all, this is, I guess, a similar graph as Roger this morning showed. And the reason I like to show it, not to repeat what I'm saying, but I think I like to make the point that all of these things means you have maximum 2 years peak to peak. And what is the problem with that? The problem is here. If you look what our lead time is, so 0 is when we get money in the bank, and the longest lead time is money out of the bank, 5 years for high NA, 2 years for low NA, and for NXT it's not visible, it's somewhere here or so, I don't know. But this is the problem, okay? And the business of our customers, he said that cycles is 1 year, so I said 2 years. But that means between you need to get your business cycle with customers about 1 year. That we pushing them to take orders with down payments earlier is our bullishness to our customers. And it will potentially go okay, potentially go bad. I guess Peter talked about this morning that all these long lead times, and we're pissing off many customers because we couldn't deliver, prevent them now to cancel all the products for the simple reason they believe the uptime is coming. But maybe not correct. And if that's not correct, that hits us all. So all these mismatch with our customers is our biggest issue the coming years, because we're hiding this stuff in our majority sales on immersion until recently. Now we're completely naked on this. So we asked the business unit, what is the new news? The new news is this. Now, for those of the business unit sits here, they say, this is not what I said. And that's true. Because this one I dreamed up myself. Because the business guys are working with the purchasing guys to cut our exposure off at the order lead time. Because we negotiate with most of you, you have to start early, but you have to do it on your own money. And the problem of that is, of course, it's good that you're willing to start on your own money, but it's still our problem. What I'm saying with our problem, if we still have it wrong, we cannot deliver, and we are hit by it. And if we have it, if we have less, there's inventory, which is still there, needs to be dealt something. So the visibility, so nice that we have all those plans where we cut things on here. Now, first of all, high-low NA is almost there. So therefore I put this in here. This is likely at some of the suppliers. I don't know what it is, but this needs to be documented. And here, high NA guys think they can manage in 2 years, and I don't think so. There will be things like that, but they're looking to my friend whose eyes, is that correct? Yes, no, I have no clue. But it's not visible. And why is it important? And I try to make a joke here a bit by adding a formula, why not? I define cycle time as the integrated money from where we are starting to commit, we means including supplier, to where our customer are willing to commit, this. And this integral amount of money is the problem. And that needs to go down to 0. And we may not be able to get to 0, but every money more than 0 will be continuously be hunting us in our problem. And the point I like about to put it this way, because a number of parameters are in this formula. First of all, of course, shorter lead time. Everything helps. But the second point is way more difficult. The engineers are often not even aware of this. So they're changing everything like madmen, not knowing that whatever they change has 0 impact because everything is still waiting in the pipeline. And in particular with our EUV product, where we have to change the material, this becomes an issue. So we need to be more sophisticated together with the change control. Of course, lower cost of goods also helps. If you give us everything for nothing, it's fine. And then also inflation, if you can manage it with your suppliers. But inflation is the other point, that you think the world, you put the orders down at -5, you think the world 5 years from now is the same. That's the other problem we have to face. And we have to take responsibility for that. We all have to take responsibility, share responsibility for that. So, we need to have more scientists in our logistics department and purchasing to get this right. The commonality, we drive commonality between DUV, EUV, between NXT, entire platform, as well from EUV itself. Very important, and this is probably the most difficult thing to do with the engineers and the supply chain, to make sure that we get sufficient volume to drive cost and drive maturity up. It's not only about cost, it's also about maturity. Then this graph, I will not explain again. I just like to say it's a complex graph of how the goods goes around the thing. But the real thing I like to point you out, that thick line on the bottom, which are return parts coming back, and it needs to go somewhere. And part of the place somewhere is in Weert, for those who understand Weert. Weert is a different country, it's Limburg. If you go there, you have a huge inventory down the stuff. Huge inventory, not here 5L, that's in Weert, because nobody cares, it's there in the corner. And you're loading all the return materials. It wasn't my invention at the time, because I could not have people interested for repair. I said, well, you know what, we're going to store everything in Weert, and then some people can see it. Now, I've been there with Wayne and a few of my colleagues. You almost start crying the amount of material we wasted. So, I would just like to say, this is our inventory. If I add up, and your inventory, collectively, there's about 900 million on reuse, not an inventory I show. And you must have a similar video of your inventory. Allemaal reuse, not be used. And for the accountants around, we are already very concerned when they have these big numbers, 900 million for some people, a big number. This is new cost. This is not taking care about writing off, so it's just as new. So it's not that disastrous as it looks, but still we could resurrect that value back if we could repair. And I think the threshold in my organization, our organization, and your organization to do that is problematic. There are good examples. So we're having, if you look at the success of 15%, we have been able to ship. So the current pressure of last year, it helps enormously to get 15% more shipment just for the reuse. But that was the other way around. It was not because we were concerned about the environment. We were concerned about the money that we could not make the sales. But we should probably translate this now a bit in doing good for mankind. And we do this together. And we do that, so we like to invite you to do this. And that brings me to my final slide, where all the good stuff I was trying to say in words has been here in text, so you can read it on the text. But before I say this was it, I have a few more additives. And that is this slide. Letting people say ASML gets 40 years. People writing books about ASML, and I'm saying, you know, ASML this year is 50 years. And why do you think ASML is 50 years? Because I got 50 years back, and 50 years you have the Philips report, making the first scanner in 1973, a stepper, 1973. Most of the guys, a number of those guys I know, particularly the author, Herman van Heek, living close to this place. My first boss at ASML wrote a report that he could make a system for 250K. That's the other thing I like to show the slide. Huh? Huh? And even some of your equipment would be too expensive. But 250K. And Ad Bauer also, mechanical engineer, know personally very well. So 50 years of ASML. So things were existing before ASML. They were already 10 years in the making. This system didn't go anywhere. And didn't go anywhere because the other 50 years come from here. There's another place called Wilton, ex-Perkin-Elmer, made this beautiful machine. Compared to the previous machine, I consider this the better machine. This was the success of Perkin-Elmer. It almost cost them also out of the market because they were so damn successful. So damn successful, they were not in time for the next product. But it killed all of the products out there. This is the first optical tool we used in manufacturing. Optical means projection tool. Before that was all contact printing, proximity printing. There's no moving parts. Oh, well, the moving parts are not being highly server controlled. It was because one-to-one it was all automatically. And you could make the machine back in a few months after you buy. You had to pay back of this machine in a few months. It was a crazy time for Perkin-Elmer. So our roots, being ASML, go back 50 years. So we're busy 50 years, and we will not stop. So this is my last slide. So you see the low NA on the top, high NA, and hyper NA. You also see a picture of a machine on the left-hand side with people like the other pictures. And this is not this today, but I try to tell you that the dream we have in the future, that we are driving commonality, get to a common platform, 10 years from now, where the color code suggests what the commonality is. Again, because size stubbornness hasn't changed, so we will not force commonality from size, but we will force size to commonality on the manufacturing. Okay, so we'll not recreate the manufacturing, and we try to limit, I probably should not say not, we will limit it, we will constrain that everywhere, and the cycle time needs to go down, and therefore we need to drive down the cost and get from the low NA specific, from the high NA specific to common platform. You see everything the same color, and in 10 years we have a complete new platform set, which need to be a major step up in our value. So it will not stop after 40 years or 50 years, it will continue at least another 10 years. Thank you.
To secure and maintain the ASML's leading market position. To secure and maintain ASML's technology leading position. We keep driving technology front end to push and deliver new products to our customers. So everybody sitting here or joining online are part of the progress and also part of it. And next, we invite our head of plan and delivery, Stefan Beckers, to share with us the mission of his sector is and what it can offer. Stefan is not able to join in person today, but he still would like to take this opportunity to present to us.
ASML 身为这个产业的技术领导者，我们持续技术研发，并提供新产品给我们的客户。而在座的各位都是这个旅程的一份子。接下来 Stefan 会介绍 Planning and Delivery 这个部门的任务，以及他跟他的部门要如何帮助我们持续改善。Let's hand it over to Stefan Beckers, the head of Planning and Delivery. Hello, Stefan. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the stage is
Very
all
good.
yours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here, even if it's online. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you a bit the sector that we set up as ASML and why we did that and what we're actually aiming at. And I will also tell you a little bit of a few steps that we made already, actually, since the summer. So on this slide, you probably see what you have seen in the presentations before is that we are growing extremely fast as a company. And what the good news is, this growth will not stop. So we expect to still continue to grow to 2030. And I would like to give a little bit of context of what that means for planning specifically, because it's not only the growth in volume, it's also the growth in product portfolio. So we will add more products. We see that the lead time to capacity, because of the complexity of our products, is becoming longer. While we actually need there's a growing need for flexibility. We see that the install base is growing and changing in nature, which means that the systems that we are going to put into the install base in the coming years, they're more complex. So they actually need more parts than some of the systems we have been shipping up till now. We see that the capacity preparation, the way we have been doing that, was too much one size fits all for everybody. And we feel that given the differences of the products that you deliver to us, we need to segment that and make it more specific to certain groups of suppliers. And last, but for sure not least, we have been growing quite a bit as an organization, and that led to many interfaces into the supply chain. And one of the aims is also to start clearing that up and make sure that the interfaces become absolutely clear again. If you look what this context of this growth actually means for planning, and we see already today, we see actually three groups of challenges. And we will split them, and you will see that later on in my presentation as well, always around the strategic horizon, the tactical horizon, and the operational horizon. And then the tactical horizon is really our demand and supply horizon, so it's about 18 to 24 months. And the operational horizon is really the ordering. So that's more on a weekly, monthly basis. If you look at strategic horizon, then we have the feeling we send out this red table, and most of you will recognize the red table, but we feel that the red table is actually not anymore what we need to go forward. And why? It's because we actually give you all the same information at the same time. Now, not all of you need that information at this moment in time, but there are also some of you who need actually much more information than the information we're giving you. So my team is now working to tailor that more to your need as a supplier, and also make sure that based on that information you can better take the actions that we need together. Now you see a few quotes, so I think quotes from the supplier as well as from the customer side. And from the supplier side, I think some of you have been seeing that red table as always an overestimation of what we need from you. I think if we look back the last 2 years, then that was definitely not the case. So I think there we were actually on the low side compared to what we required. If you look at the tactical horizon, then you see in the graph, and this is real data, you see how we plan. So you see in September what we planned for March, and then you see what we in October planned, and so on. And what you see there is that we actually have been pretty over-optimistic in our plan. And I always say the yellow part is okay, because the yellow part is the flexibility that we plan for to be able to capture opportunities that arise. I think the blue part is an issue, because the blue part is actually what we committed to our customers. And if we talk about trust, and you have been talking about that in the presentations before, this is killing for the trust of our customers, because we promise them much more than we in the end deliver. But it's not only killing for the trust of the customer, it's also killing for the trust of you, of the suppliers. Because we always focus on the suppliers that cannot yet follow, but there's of course a lot of suppliers that do follow us. And in this case, that means that they produced a lot of goods that in the end we do not need at that moment in time. So it kills the trust on both sides. So we want to do something about it. And if you see the capacity preparation that needs improvement, if you see a rational plan that we would like to move to, then you also see the consequence if these both are not in place. And that's what you see on the right side. These are the messages that we send into the supply chain on a weekly basis. So you see here that we sent over 100,000 messages into the supply chain to re-out, to re-in, to reschedule, to cancel. We know from the suppliers that we talk to that a lot of these messages they cannot even handle. That also means we don't get the confirmations that we actually require. Now, as ASML, it has been decided on a board level that we would start a transformation on planning and delivery to prepare us towards 2030. And one of the things that was done is that we launched the planning and delivery sector. And that sector that should be unbiased and be in between demand and supply and orchestrated. And you see that on the picture, in the picture on the left, you see planning and delivery in the middle. And actually all these arrows are information flows. So it's data that is coming from the factories, from the supply chain, from the module factories, from the development and engineering. And in the end needs to be matched with all the demand information that we get from the customer side and the supply from the sourcing side. And then make sure that we get to a rational but stretched plan, as we call it. What is important to note on this picture is that you see on the left, we will not communicate directly to you. We will always, if we communicate to the customer, we go through our sales department and our customer-facing organization. If we communicate to suppliers, we always go to sourcing and procurement. Now, you still might see us. We're already engaging with some of our suppliers, but we will always do that together and in collaboration with sourcing and procurement. Now, we look at planning. We also look at delivery. And what do we do in the delivery? Actually, a bit similar. We're also in the middle, I would say, between the supply chain and the customers, and make sure that the goods get delivered, that they get stored. and that all kinds of compliance issues like customs are secured. I try to summarize in one slide here actually what you can expect from us, but also what we will need from you, and a few focus areas. So a few terms that you will start hearing us using a lot. So if you look at the strategic horizon, then we talk about in-time capacity preparations. And we want to make sure that the decisions we need to take there on investments, on buildings, equipment, people, that we do them in time and we do them conscious. So what we will bring on this layer is that we want to do this timely and synchronized preparation. That means that we all need to be there at the same time, but we don't start all at the same time. So some suppliers have a much longer integral cycle time and lead time to capacity than others. And by giving them all the same information and let them start all at the same time, we might create underutilization, or we might be in a situation that we are too late. So we want to split that and segment that a bit towards the supplier groups. Prepare tailored communication. I was referring to the red table. We feel that the red table is not, it helped us a lot in the past. We should change it, and we should make it more tailored to the need of the supplier groups. And we want to use optionality in decision making. And what that actually means is that instead of sending you a red table with a number of systems in 5 years from now, we want to look at the decisions that we really have to take at this moment and see what that does to our opportunity, as well as the risks that we need to take as a complete supply chain. Now, what do we need from you then? I think for us it's then really important to make sure that you give us the key capacity decision moments. So what is important in your business to ramp? And at which moments do you need to take the big decisions? If we have a better insight on when you need to do that, we can better time that decision and to make sure that we're all ready in the same time. We need, of course, insight in your current capacity, and we need transparency and reduction of lead time to capacity. Our lead time to capacity is growing across the board, actually, and to make sure that we can balance the risk and the opportunity and reduce that risk, actually, this reduction of that lead time to capacity is crucial. So the focus areas that you will hear us talk about is lead time to capacity, flexibility. We will come with a kind of a decision calendar where we group all the decisions to be taken, optionality and segmentation. If you look at the tactical horizon, then we want an ambitious plan. And I keep on saying that to all our suppliers. We will not go for a complacent plan. We cannot afford it. Our customers want us to deliver what they ask us to deliver. So we will always go for a stretch plan if you looked at projection. However, we want to make sure that the decisions we take and when we stretch are rational. The second point there is complete. We know that the information that we get from service, actually that we have from our install base, does not always end up in our plan. So that information is there. It doesn't always end up in our plan, and we want to make sure that our demand is complete. We will use tailored planning methodologies. What does that mean? There are different parts which need a different type of planning. There are parts where we can smoothen the demand more because the investment is low and because the risk on the ASML side is low, or on the supplier side is low. And there are parts, of course, which are so expensive, which we need to plan one by one. So we'll start differentiating there. Now, what do we need again from you? We need transparency on our order lead times. We have seen that the order lead times have been increasing quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years. So we need to get them down to make sure that we get max flexibility in our chain. A timely escalation. If you see that you hit capacity constraints, please let us know so that we can act on it. Yeah, and I think here the focus areas will be for order lead time and the reduction of that. And I want to stress one thing. We talk about order lead time. Of course, that underlying cycle time is extremely relevant for us, that we together and you on your side keep on reducing that to create flexibility. If we look at the operational horizon, and then I showed you the picture where you see all these messages coming in. We want to reduce that. So we want to send only value add messages. I'll talk a bit on it later on, is that you see that we sometimes create messages ourselves as ASML towards you, which you cannot handle or you cannot act upon. So we would like to get them out because they're only confused. And we want to introduce a feedback loop from execution. And here we talk a lot about, we do a tactical plan. That's actually the demand and supply plan on a monthly base. But of course, when you start executing that, whether that's on your side in the supply chain or whether that's in our own factories, a lot of things happen which can deviate from the plan. That's no problem, as long as it can be solved within the time horizon of the plan. If it needs to lead to plan adaptations, we would like to make sure that we monitor that. So we're setting up, as we speak, actually a feedback loop with the factories, with some of our suppliers, to monitor on the plan and to be able to react or act when requested. Now, again, what do we need from you then? This timely confirmation of orders is for us, of course, extremely important. Because if we don't get that confirmation, we are not sure if we get the delivery in time, and that will probably lead to actions on our side to start expediting you, to start pulling in materials. And if that's not needed, we should not be taking those activities. So what you hear us talk about here in terms is sales and operations execution, as we call it. It's actually the feedback loop. And we will talk a lot with you about confirmations that we require. Now, we did not only talk about where we want to go, we also started, and we actually kicked off around the summertime, 3 pressure cookers. And it's a cross-sector initiative, including some of you. So we invited a few suppliers to help us actually to determine what are the problems that we see and where would the solutions lie. And they focus on 3 different areas. One, on complete demand. As mentioned, I think on the systems, we do that pretty well. On the field, we could improve the service demand, but also on MPI, to get that properly in our plans. We do a lot of MPI. I think it helps if we get to more completeness there. The rational plan, we chose here because the rational plan is, of course, a definition that we can debate on for a very long time. We chose here in this pressure cooker to start looking at our inventory distribution. So do we see that there is a difference for some of the supplies which are short and other ones which we keep on pushing with the plan, and that leads actually to an oversupply. And this rebalancing and the tool that we organize for that will also help us to communicate in the end better to you specifically as a supplier, in saying, hey, you are a bit ahead of the plan or you're behind the plan, please adjust your deliveries. Now, planning signal, we came to the conclusion there's quite a few signals that we create actually to set priorities ourselves, which you cannot react on, so we try to get them out. Now, if you look at the short-term results, I think on the complete demand, we started looking at upgrade service and the new materials, and we added now about 2,000. In the meantime, it's over 3,000 parts to our forecasting of service parts. We also added about 140 routine upgrades, which were not part of our planning in the forecasting. And it's important to make the difference between forecasting and ordering. Of course, we order these parts today as well, but we all order them at lead time. And by forecasting them more into the future, we can better spread the requests that we have to you. Now, on the inventory and the rational plan, we improve netting opportunities across ASML. I think this is important for you as well, because it means that we only ask you to deliver what we need, and we only order what we really need. If we find the netting opportunity later on, then that might result in a push out of the parts that we need to get from you. So I think in the end, it leads to better signals towards you. We created that balanced inventory dashboard. As said, that's the imbalance in our inventory we try to use in our planning methodologies and into our signals towards you. And we started to move into module planning. And why is that important? Today we start we plan as ASML actually on a system level. So we plan the system start in our factories, and that if that is unbalanced, the one supplier can follow, the other one cannot follow. It does not always make sense to plan on a start. So on priority modules where we have shortages, we started to plan individually on the module so that we can better agree together with you what is now actually feasible, where are the constraints that you see, and to make sure that that information lands in the overall plan so that we all go in the same pace. Now on the planning signals, we focus on reduction of those signals. We see two things actually. So we did quite a few actions in our planning methodologies, specifically around service. And we see that the plan attainment has increased over the last months. And with plan attainment, we mean we have a start plan and we look back actually a quarter and see were we able as a complete supply chain, so you together with us, to follow that plan. That actually came up in the last months. And last but not least, we see a 25% reduction in messages. Now that has to do with two things, of course. We all have seen that the demand, that peak in demand has come down a bit. That of course helps, but we also directly contributed about 10% through different planning methodologies in service. With that, I'm actually at the last slide of my presentation. And I would like to do an appeal to you. I think we also as a planning department, but also as ASML, we cannot do this together. I noted quite a few things that we actually need you to help us, to give us the insight and the transparency that we require to deliver in the end a better plan towards you. So I hope you will help us, and you also reach out and speak up when you see things. Also on the planning side, you can do that through Source and Procure. Let us know if you see things which could be done better, because we're very receptive and open to discuss them with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. So planning and delivery sector indeed played a very important role among ASML suppliers, customers, and internal teams to orchestrate our demand and supply. So next section, we would like to invite Edward and Bruce to the stage while Stefan remains online for our Q&A session.
Plan and Delivery 将在客户、艾斯摩尔跟供应商之间扮演重要的角色，为我们协调供给跟需求。接下来是 Q&A 的时间，相信经过一整天的议程之后，大家应该有很多的讯息需要消化，也有很多问题想问，所以现在就是 Q&A 的 session。我们现在有 Edward 跟 Bruce 在台上。
So, because we collect some questions from the teams, I want to extend some bodyguard next to me. So I want to extend the invitation to our Linko factory head, Tony Zhao. So there are questions for you. Please also stand here. And also Kerwin, our head of Tainan factory for the production. And we also see people are quite interested in our activity for the ESG. So we want to get our K Huan. So where is K Huan? You still here somewhere? Yeah, K Huan, please also stand on the stage. Then we don't need to pass on the microphone. So then let's turn to our host for the questions.
So let's start with this, the first pre-collected question. This question, it's observed ASML's supply chain activities in Asia is increasing. Could you share ASML's sourcing strategy and or principle in Asia?
Well, I'm glad the message came across. I think we already talked about it multiple times during the sessions today. We do increase indeed, or are trying to increase the spend or the footprint on the supply chain in Asia. Remember the two basic strategies. One is for the NPI, the co-location. Now we do realize that for maybe the smaller suppliers that's difficult. So we still need to optimize on NPI, but for the bigger suppliers, we want to co-locate on one end NPI with the value and the development effort of the ASML centers and the factories. And on the other end, we'd like our suppliers to be able to follow the cost curve, which likely is in Asia. And to that extent, with the doubling of the growth, trying to do a factor of 4 in the spend, we expect a factor of 8 more demand on the supply chain in Asia on all of you. So there's many opportunities, but again, I keep reiterating, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg also related to the cost points that we can hit in the I-line and in the KRF space, also what Martin talked about earlier in the CTO meeting. Yeah?
Thank you, Stefan. Then let's move to the second question. ASML demand forecast is important for suppliers to prepare upfront, especially long lead time raw materials involved items. Could you share ASML expectation on suppliers and which role by how ASML will communicate the forecast to suppliers?
Maybe we get Stefan to take this one.
Yeah, okay. I think what I explained in the I have a bit of an echo, by the way, but what I explained in my presentation is that there are actually two parts of planning. There are two time horizons of planning, and we would like to make them more specific. So one is really on capacity, and this capacity is about, do you have the infrastructure, do you have the tools, but also do you have your supply chain organized, and do you need investments? That's one part, and I think I try to explain that there we will try to be more specific to you as groups of suppliers and offer more options. The focus there will very much be on what we call lead time to capacity. We need to reduce it. As a complete industry, we need to reduce it to make sure that we keep the flexibility and keep the risk down. Now, the second part is more in a shorter horizon. And I think there we talk about this rational and stretched plan. So we will give you information and we will discuss with you the information that you actually require. How far ahead do you need to get information from you? And the more you indicate to us where these important decisions for you are, and you say, listen, I need to already plan for my supply chain half year or a year ahead. So I need at least information for 1.5 to 2 years, then let us know. Because we will try to accommodate to make sure that you can take the right decisions. But also on this side, I think there's a request to you, of course, as well. Make sure that you organize your supply chain in such a way that you have flexibility there. So what we ask from you on reducing, for example, your integral cycle times, you should ask your own supply chain as well. Together, we can also decide where we put buffers or where we decouple. I think if that's a decision you don't want to take alone, then I think we're always willing to discuss that with you.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. Then following, we have a question to Linko Factory. Then we will invite Tony to reply. The question is, with Linko Factory groundbreaking in Q1 2024, ready for production 2026, what is your vision for the factory for the next 5 years? And how could we suppliers do to help you realize it?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I am very excited and also humbled by the fact that we have the opportunity to build the biggest factory outside of the Netherlands. It is here at the right location. You can say ASML is a Dutch company, but you can also see from a market perspective, we sell 80%, we derive 80% of the revenue from Asia. So we are also an Asian company, right? So location-wise, it's in the right place. Timing-wise, we're a little bit late actually. So we will open the doors in middle of 2026. And you saw the curve this morning, it starts to climb in 2025. So we need to catch up, but nonetheless, it is the right timing to add the capacity. Vision-wise, I think it's already written all over the places this morning from various speakers. The total semicon market is going to 1 trillion, ASML is going to 40 million by 2030. So there's a lot of opportunity and growth to be had. So our vision is to be the most competitive factory, making a product competitive or make the product as competitive as we can be to help ASML for the next decade of growth. What you can help, I would say, well, I can repeat all the stuff from this morning again, the quality, cost, and delivery, but fundamentally what is more important is I need to have the firm trust and faith that you're in this together with us, right? We're in the same ecosystem. Some of the people I saw this morning, I've known for 20 years, 15, 20 years. I never visit their factories anymore, not for the last 10 years. It's not that they don't have issues, they have a lot of issues. But I have very, very strong faith, knowing the people who they are, they will manage the problems away. So I think that's really something that I'm looking for, that strong faith that we're in the game together, then we can make this a success.
Okay. Thanks for the answer, Tony. So next one is...
So maybe I add on to this. I add on to the Linko factory side. So the factory output is a must, right? It's much needed because our customer need a machine. And so me, my team, so we work with our suppliers, right? We have to get your faster response to those issues, either for the NPI or for the quality, and also make sure you have the capacity in place, so on and so forth. So we actually consider it's a partnership, right? I told my team, so if only identify the issue from the supplier, it's not good enough. So I want my team to work with you to resolve the problem together, right? Two domains. Identify the issue, but we want to resolve the problem with you together. That's more important. Then we can make sure my internal client, so Tony on the right, Kerwin on the left, right? So they can have all the happy materials on site and production ready. Right. That's my add-on. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce, for the adding. And next one, this one we collected from Teams, from people who joined online. And this question is to Kerwin. Question is as follows. You shared about your own factory efficiency improvement with very aggressive target of 30%, 3-0, reduction. How do you achieve that? What good things and good practice that you could share?
Okay. Throughout the day, I think the very important message we receive that cost is one of the key competitiveness that we win in this market. So to be more precise, our ambition in the factory on NPI product, we are looking for 36% cost improvement from now to 2025. On HVM product, we are looking for 8%. So, like I mentioned, this year we are not able to deliver the commitment we made to customer. Not because the customer push out, but we are struggling on the technology breakthrough. We are struggling on the supply stability. So we lost 30% of output this year. But as mentioned, we have a lot of progress made, especially on NPI. Let's take MBI, for example. Martin had mentioned that multi-beam product is the future for e-beam. We spend more than 50% of the time struggling on resolving those technical issues, struggling on the error rate from our materials. So that's why we initiate the strategy that we will early engage in the upfront activities, proto, and also to help the overall industrialization improvement. What we want to achieve is that make this product manufacturing procedures repeatable. Although the immature of the product design, immature of the procedure we have, but I'm still really proud of this product because as of now, we still the only provider to ship multi-beam to our customer. So with that, we are confident that we can deliver this 36% to killing those key issues in terms of cycle time, in terms of labor hour on NPI products. As for high volume products, honestly, there's no magic, just operation excellence. For those lean activity, continuous improvement, we have hundreds of smart engineers working on the shop floor to collect all those continuous improvement idea piece by piece. 8% to be achieved in 2 years. I firmly believe we can achieve that. So now you have all my tips on the cost reduction. I believe we will work together and commit together to achieve this 30% goal. Together, let's make Bruce's life easier. Thank you.
So I commit, yes, I commit. I will work with you to do it without impacting your margin. Yeah, I commit. Thank you, Kerwin, for the sharing.
Thank you, Erwin. Then next, we have a question related to ESG topic. Then we will invite Kate to answer this question. From ASML perspectives, how do your own employees, young talents, think about ESG initiatives? How do they like it?
Yeah, so I just consider myself as a young talent.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So in my experience working with our team member inside sourcing and procurement Asia, because I also serve as an ESG ambassador and to work with other departments inside ASML Taiwan, also globally. So the first time when I share the article or like internal events with our members, people coming to me and show their interest in the sustainability topics and tell me, oh, I don't know we have this program, or I don't know we actually doing so much in ESG. So the awareness in the younger generation of ESG is definitely there. So yeah, so I think the answer is definitely yes, that I do see a lot of people from SML showing strong interest in this topic. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kate, for the answer.
Thank you, Kay. Maybe I add on a little bit, the true story of ASML. So Kay is actually our LSM, right? Logistics Supplier Manager. So I think some of your suppliers are here. So I think Kay came to me about April, May, right? So I think you were inspired by our Crystal Fouquet speech on the ESG. She came to me, hey, Bruce, she wants to volunteer to do actual work on top of her current work to study and to help us with the supplier on the ESG. Thank you for that. And she said she just like it, right? You say you just like it. You say, Bruce, don't worry about the overtime. That 20-30%, you say you will absorb it. Thank you. That's the kind of passion that the team here we have for the ESG. Thank you.
Okay, now let's start taking questions from the audience here. So any questions? So maybe one small reminder. So please start your question once microphone is handed over to you. So everybody joining this event can hear your question clearly. Anybody? Don't be shy.
Yeah, we have time control, so we really need to spend this 30 minutes. We still have 30 minutes for the Q&A. And I promise Edward, right? So the Asia team is quite demanding. The suppliers are quite demanding. So don't feel shy, right, please?
Hello, Creon van Bakel from KMWE. A question, there's a plan to make an enormous growth for spend in this region. Looking at the ESG initiatives, it would also mean it would be delivered towards more regional ASML factories. What is your strategy in that? except for the extension of the Taiwan factory.
You want me to? I'll start, and maybe you can add. I have a microphone. Thank you. No, I think you saw it also from the data this morning that Tony showed. Even the HMI factory and the Linko factory, the majority of the parts are not coming from Asia. So when we localize that, that already will reduce cost and will reduce footprint, right? For Kate's benefit, and yes, for our other worldwide factories, if we move, we might at least temporarily increase the footprint. We are looking at alternative modes of transport. We need to do that together with Stefan, because obviously if we don't fly and we boat, we can save a lot by adding more parts in one container, for instance. There will be some cycle time, so that's a discussion we also have with the planning and delivery people. Where ultimately, and I think Tony is already alluding to capacity that we're building, we might extend our factory/integration footprint in Asia in the future. That then when we may temporarily use a little bit more ESG footprint, we return that back to Asia again going forward. So initially try to more or less break even by going more local for these gentlemen, also taking cost out of the supply chain. Ultimately, the plan is to localize even further, but then from the factory end.
Maybe I can add one, Eduard. So I think you rightfully say it's cost, it's ESG, finding better modes of transportation. I think what we have seen as well also during Corona is that also the capacity that we have and the capacity that is available if we are growing very fast as ASML also is a reason to start doing things local. Because flying things around the world has become quite a challenge, I can say, to capture all the capacity that we need there. So this is an additional reason to make sure that things that we do not need to fly over the world, we don't want to fly over the world. For ESG, for cost, but also for capacity.
And de-risking, if the capacity is not there, you cannot move.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience here? No? Oh, Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason from TFI. I was just wondering if you can go into more detail about the new factory in Linko, like the activities that you're going to be doing there. Is it going to increase in scope, or is it just going to sort of build on your current capacity? So are you going to be could you go into more detail about exactly what you're going to be doing there?
Okay, so the answer is twofold, yes to both. We will have our organic growth between now and 2025 on all the current products. On the current products, it will also grow. So you saw the 500 now, and then we have the 550, 600, and maybe even onto the bigger machines. MPS, the 200 millimeter, it's a sold again. We're making it new. The China market looks good with a lot of applications, so we expect that to be sustainable business. The DUV reticle handler is pegged to the scanner 1-to-1, so that grows, we will also grow. That's on the current scope, right? Just grow on top of that. Now, on the new contents, we are in a lot of discussions from Veldhoven and also from the local management to see what makes sense. I think some of the possibilities you heard earlier already on some of the very market competitive, cost-sensitive products, I think we can capitalize on that. But that's a very big ordeal that you are not only just building the machine. Building the machine itself is probably lesser challenge than building the supply chain. So local for local really is the answer to a lot of the challenges on ESG, on costs, on timing, and also on the ease of manufacturing. So I cannot share with you what are the exact new contents for now. Some of it I don't know. We are in discussion with that. But the belief is the capability needs to go double between now and 2030. And we are putting the hardware on the ground for that. The contents will have to be filled up. So I think that's something we already seen. The fact that we decided on this land among the three chief managers, the CEO and the CEO and CFO, did not take long. And we agree over the email text. Do you want this piece of land? Yes. I got 3 yeses. And I waited for about 15 minutes, asked again, yes. And I waited for 2 days, 2 weeks, it's yes. So that's really the firmness that we need to first have that land to grow. And then the contents will come. Okay?
Yeah. Anybody? 那如果各位不好意思用英文发问的话，其实也可以用中文发问。那我们会尽我们的努力协助各位翻译这个问题。
Hi, is it on? Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. So I have a question because this morning we have been talking about cost a lot, and also then we follow with ESG. Just a question, if we are facing with a situation between cost and trade-off with ESG. Give an example, a new supplier. This is a sourcing question. So new supplier with, let's say, that operates with a questionable ESG, but they offer a good cost. Let's say a better cost. What would be the position of ASML in this kind of trade-off situation? It's a theoretical question, but it's a question that also helps to guide us as a supplier when we choose our supplier for ASML, right? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe I take this one, the sourcing question, and Kay, gentlemen can feel free to add on. So we consider ESG is the prerequisite. That's the precondition we want our supply chain to comply. And usually comply is a yes or no, right? Compliance legally for the export control is yes and no. ESG, that's also a yes and no, right? So we, ASML, want to fully comply with the export control and also with the ESG requirement. Then we want supplier to pass that, and then we can manage by the QLTCS and also the general domain. That's what, from the sourcing side, we see.
Sorry, maybe a follow-up question.
Maybe I can extrapolate a little bit on that. ESG, I think, as Kate has shown, is also a journey for all of us, for the whole world, right? When I was young, you know, this is not a topic. What Brood was saying in terms of governance, in terms of law, import, export, there's no discussion. If you don't follow, we will not do business. It's very simple. In some of these other components, it's a more of a learning journey, right? On the greenhouse gas, on the pollution, the water, energy consumption. Longer term, we will also not be flexible there. And what I mean by that is you need to look at your own company and determine what your footprint is. And I think it's the first question that Kate had, right? Self-assessment, where are you? That's the data that we like to have. So in some cases, and that's normal, you will come to the conclusion that you're not where you want to be or where we need all of us to be X years from now, 2030, one roadmap, 2040, 1 point. We will do business with those suppliers that have a credible roadmap with us together to get there. In the same way that our customers, TSMC today, Our footprint, we're not meeting the requirements yet. That's why Kate helps us drive the company to 2030, 2040. It is all about a credible roadmap. It's about, do you believe it? Do we have a sense with our partners that they believe it, that they want to honor it, and that they will do the best they can, and they have a credible roadmap? That, to me, is a prerequisite. And that you will not make it today is I wouldn't say normal, but it's a fact of life, because this is all very new to us. It's about, do you have the commitment? Do you have a credible roadmap that because we also need to present a credible roadmap to our customers together with Kate. That's a bit, so it's not so black and white. It is on the law, it is on governmental, it is on import, export, all that stuff, no debate. But on the other stuff, it's about having a credible roadmap.
Thank you. I see we have final 2 minutes for this Q&A. Maybe we take one last question before we end this Q&A section. Okay, yeah, please.
All right, so this is Johnson from Feedback Taiwan. So I got a question I want to ask very quickly. So first of all, I'm very impressive on the presentation of ASML today. It's very good information here. So my question is, Feedback is going to invest about 15% capacity expansion in 2024. So it's quite comply with ASML strategy to ask all the suppliers to prepare for 2025 growth. But my next question is that when Linkou new factory is going to expand in 2026, what's the product roadmap and what's the future growth that a momentum that you will ask all the vendors to prepare in advance? So my true question is, what is the true products? What's the associated machine we should invest for future growth? That's my question. Is that clear?
So I think your question is about what is the specific one level down on our product roadmap, or which modules, parts we will leverage our suppliers here.
Yeah, that will be for future growth in Linkou new factory.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that is more interesting. I want to know.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I take the first shot and feel free to add. So ASML has several clusters, right? Each cluster, there's different supplier strengths in different sites, right? So our sourcing strategy is we want to optimize on each of the cluster, then leverage the supplier in each of the site to get to the lowest total landing cost. Yeah, so that's our strategy thinking. So, and along this line, we want to increase our local sourcing ratio for the yield start, for the HMI. These are the products that are made here in the Asia side, and these are the low-hanging fruit. And also, we have the service parts demand. That's around all these Asia side. We have China, we have Taiwan, South Korea, we also have Singapore. So all these service demand, we also want to local supply. So these are the immediately focus that we are driving. And beyond this, right, we also want our product that can ship to our Veldhoven factory at the total landing cost. So that's our answer. We want to focus on the cost. Once that achieved, these are all opportunities. So any add-on?
No, I think summarizing, I think you put it exactly right. Low-hanging fruit is for both factories here, local to local. Why, target 100%? Why not? It may be difficult for some of the products because of competency that we need to build up here, but that, why not? The other one, of course, is in the other market spaces where we have competitive pressure, which is I-line and KRF. There we have the two products, right? What's the driver, the product driver? It's the XT260 that Martin talked about, and it's the NXT875. Both high performance, high productivity, which we want to localize as much as possible in Asia. We will likely integrate the first ones in Veldhoven, but there's no reason why at some point in time we should not be doing that in Asia as well. That's probably as much as I can say at this point in time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I can make it a little bit more specific on the competencies. I would like to have more precision machining capabilities, number one. Number two, electronics, because electronics is a high runner within our system. We consume a lot of parts. Anything relates to stage, movements, mechatronics, these are the critical needs to put our systems together. If possible, develop a little bit more optics. Optics other than Zeiss. That's one company in the world, but we're not looking for those specific large lens. We're looking for optics for sensors, for example. Okay, I think that's something we can find within Asia as well. So these are the competencies that come to mind to be able to sustain the growth and capture the cost advantages being in Asia.
Thank you. So I think maybe that's time.
So I think in view of time, I think that concludes our Q&A session. So thanks for all of our speakers on the stage. And thank you. And Bruce, please stay on the stage for our next session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Stefan, thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Thanks for the time. Before we go into the Q&A, the supplier awards, which is very happy, and we want to thank everybody for the good cooperation. There's one more thing I'd like to share and talk about, which is maybe if you could go to the slide. Very sad news over the weekend. We heard that one of our partners, VDL, which without we could have not been here today, to be honest. Wim van der Leegte passed away, age 78, and we would like to remember him here. We have some colleagues here from VDL, which we would like to send our sincere condolences. Wim, and I will quote Peter Wenning, Wim was a grote Brabander, which is Dutch for a big guy in the province of the south, where Veldhoven is also located, who has meant a lot to the region and to the Netherlands for both business and society. He was very engaged in also the people. He was honorary chairman of Eindhoven Fabrikantenkring, which is a society of suppliers, not only to ASML, but also to Philips, that he was heavily involved in for many years. Wim was an iconic man for the manufacturing industry, an example for many. We will miss his humor, sharp insight, and warmth enormously, and wish his family, all the people at VDL, a lot of strength. So, thank you. Now we go to the pleasure of Supplier Awards.
Yeah. So, Supplier Day Award. So we consider each of our suppliers as our partner. And I asked my team, I asked factories, I asked our clusters to nominate the supplier for this year. The total lump sum of the nominee is about 40 suppliers. 40 suppliers. So that means quite a lot of suppliers, the work you have done, your contribution to us is very recognized by our team here. But we can only select 6 suppliers with the extraordinary effort that we want to recognize and get on the stage. So I think the first supplier that we want to be recognized is the video ETG Suzhou. So these suppliers, we work together right during the beautiful COVID-19. Right, there is a COVID-19, 2 years of lockdown. So the materials had difficulty to ship into China and also get out of China. So we see Dennis, right, as the MD of the video Suzhou, the side, he personally handled all this escalation, help us to get these critical materials to our factory here and in Veldhoven. And also you work with your team, our team, to enable the alternative shipment method changed by the air to the ocean. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. So the next suppliers, so we want this to special recognize Shinban, the effort that Shinban has done with us. So Shinban is our electronic suppliers. So it works very relentless with us on the material lead time reduction. And also, the supplier Shinban, they push us very hard. It's a good thing. They push us to localize the materials more by their Asia suppliers here. So I want to special thanks to their CEO, Joseph Huang, for you and your team that have worked with us in the last 3 years. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, I want to give a little bit floor time to our suppliers. So sorry for Dennis, I missed it, I forgot. But we can do this over the cocktail. But that's, I want to have their CEO, Joseph, to speak a few words to us. Thank you.
英文就请我的处长就来一下。他讲英文版，我再简单的用中文讲一下。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, thank you to ASML and thanks to all the ASML partners. So today, on behalf of Shinban, I'm really honored to be here and to celebrate about our excellence and to get recognized to get this award. I think continuing to drive into the improvement to the excellence has been always our commitment to ASML team. So for Shinban, 2016, we got the Best Quality Award. And 2019, we received an award of the Best Logistic and also support of the MPI. So for our team, and I think I'm also very happy, personally, that today we got the award to be the material, the lead time reduction, and also the localization, which we believe is very crucial factor and is a value we can deliver to our customer. So together, I think we want to continue grow with the ASML. The last but not least, I want to extend my sincere congratulations and thank you to our team. And I think we are all very happy for this well-deserved award. Thank you.
Thank you.
我只想快速的讲一下，我们跟ASML合作了15年，2016年先拿了一个最佳品质奖，2019年拿了一个lead time 最遵守交期的时间。那今年我们又拿了一个奖，这个奖呢就很特殊，我们也很开心。但是我们是觉得非常的荣幸能够跟ASML这么一个好的公司共同的，等于是让我们也介入了一个以机体电路这一块呢是一个非常严格要求，还有对这个品质上的要求了，还有这个 collaboration 这方面要求很严格的，我们能够介入在里头，是我们的荣幸。我们非常感谢ASML的给我们这种机会，谢谢。
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Thank you. So then the next, so we would like to recognize Thailing, right? So Thailing is our electronic suppliers. So, and I see Thailing has grown with ASML on our engagement from the HMI to the MPS to the DUV platform. So I see Thailand investing very heavily to their engineering, tooling, and also quality improvement. So it helps us to extend our product life cycle hugely and also help us to reduce the waste on the reuse side. I want to thank you, Jin, for you and your time as contribution to ASML. Thank you.
Looks like I forgot to use ChatGPT to formulate my thank you speech. That was a bit surprised. But in behalf of Thailand and our team, I want to thank Bruce and his leadership team to really recognize the effort and achievement that we put together for the quality improvement. Honestly speaking, I think this is a team effort. It was a collaboration between the two companies. I remember the first time when I met Bruce, he told me about transparency and alignment. And I truly feel even up to today, he's really promising his word, and he wants Thailand to be a great supplier to ASML. So I'm very thankful for him to share his communication and thoughts with us. And I'm just here representing my company. Actually, all the hard work is done by my team, so I really want to thank them for their hard work. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here, so thank you. I have two gentlemen here from our company. And lastly, we hope to continue to contribute excellent supplier to ASML and to the semiconductor industry. Our company actually has been around for 40 years, but we've only been working in the semiconductor field for 10 years. So this is really exciting for us, and we look forward to future contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Jin. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So then I think the next supplier, we will go to Huailing, right, TFI. So we recognize TFI for the company has contributed to our local for local initiative for the packaging and tooling domain. And with very fast response to our capacity requirement and also our engineering project. So it's great to have their chairman, Mr. Liu, on the stage. Thank you for what you and your team has done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, 在此很感谢那个艾斯摩尔公司给我们公司的整个团队一个肯定跟鼓励。其他的我再请我们业务经理再做更详细的感言，谢谢。
Thanks a lot. I'm Jason. So if I could just repeat what our president said, we really appreciate the encouragement of the award. Actually, we've been working, this is our 10th year anniversary to work with ASML. So actually, we learned really a lot in the last 10 years. It's only our first award, unfortunately, but we will keep going. Jayo for a few more in the future. Thank you very much. 谢谢.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I think, so she's asking whether we should translate. So I know, Jason, your Chinese is actually pretty good. But I forgot what you say. It's a joke. But that's okay, that's okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I think the next supplier award, we want to recognize our Easy Touch. So Easy Touch is our suppliers located in South Korea. So the supplier engaged with ASML and our customer on the service parts, spare parts repair. So the yield from the repair has been very, very good. We also appreciate Easy Touch for ramping the capacity, right? 18 months, you finish a factory. That's very, very fast. We also invited you to establish the capacity in our Beijing, China side. And that was also done very successfully. So thank you for Mr. Lee and Mr. Wang, what you have done. Thank you. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, it's first time in this event.
Our company is EasyTouch in Korea, and we work together, ASML, about 3 years, is very shortly. Thank you for inviting our company in this event, and I'm very honored to receive this award. And I think this award is ASML good face in our good relationship. And I remember today that ASML, I'm sorry. I remember so for a long time that ASML appointment our company as a supplier, and I appreciate again. And EasyTouch will do our best to meet ASML support and the expectation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think next we will go to AAP. So AAP is our supplier for machine conditioning. So AAP has worked with us for the EOStar 500 and some of the NPI project. We appreciate the AAP engineering capability and also help us to reduce the cycle time and also first time right for your NPI project. Very well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm very excited for the cocktail party, so I'm going to cut this short. For a small company like us, we started from sheet metal supplier and to work with towards the product development provider. We work very hard to make a difference in between air and metal. And we make a lot of changes from our product and services to help ASML to achieve more. And along the way, we actually receive a lot of help from the SAT team and the R&D from the Belhoven. So we conquer a lot of issues and achieve the goal. Without them, this could not be possible. Sorry, I'm just speechless right now. So we will continue to grow and work together with ASML to achieve more. And on behalf of AAP, we thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Look, thank you. So, we want to get back to the video. Can you return the slide? Can we return the slide to the video page?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I make the mistake. I forgot to give you the time to speak. Sorry for Dennis. Sorry. Yeah.
No problem at all. Referring to the immemorial and with respect to Wim van der Leegte and with respect to the family van der Leegte, we preferred to receive this award subdued. Nevertheless, our I have to say it different. Our VDL team in China did a fantastic job, and it's great recognition that we get this award. I'd like to thank ASML for the cooperation and recognition, and I think I will be back next year.
I like the ambition. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you. So I think now is the end of our lead supplier day. It's 6.5 hours. So I think in a closing, right, one last page, 2 minutes. So I think this is our key message for this year, right? So I think we mentioned about we want to grow our sourcing in Asia, right? From right now 7%, we are targeting double digit, right? All the way to 2030, 2025, 25 to 30%. At least we will do this with our cost reduction target, with all you together. We don't want to impact your margin. We will do this together. And our factory hit on the quality and quality and quality. And also the NPI, speed to the first time right. And also the reuse, the ESG, all this message. We will distribute the slide to you. So I want to use the time to thank you for your attendance. And also I want to thank you 3 persons who has specially contributed to this event. I want to thank you our young talent, right? We have Jasper Chen, can you stand up? And Jasper is actually our sourcing manager for some of our packaging and tooling suppliers. Thank you, Jasper, for your hosting. We also want to recognize Nicole Chen. Yeah. So Nicole is actually our LSM, Logistics Supplier Manager. I see some of your suppliers also here, right? So there's the story behind, right? Cost saving, right? If I get external professional to do this, it's about 5,000 euro, right? 5,000 euro for 2 persons for a day. So then I brainstorming with my boss, so not approved. So I invited some of the talented here, and Jasper and Nicole, they do it. I think they did it very well, right? Let's give them an applause. Thank you. Thank you. And I think the last, I want to recognize Yolanda Xie and her team. They were the team who stand behind the screen, right, Yolanda? Maybe you stand up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and also your team, please stand up. Thank you. So if you want to have this next year, right, so feel free to give us more feedback. One slide back, there's a survey. So this is parking, there's a feedback. You can click, fill in, and give us some feedback. We want to have CIP, continuous improvement, right? That's the myself a link. Thank you, and we have cocktail next door. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we hope you enjoy attending our events today. So it's our utmost pleasure to have everybody here together with us. So next, we have our cocktail party at the next room, ballroom 3, where we had our lunch. So please enjoy, please stay a bit to connect, to have conversations, and to network. And most importantly, please have a safe trip home.
谢谢各位今天的参与。我们在中午用餐的地方有提供 cocktail， 请各位去那边享用。它会持续到5点半。请大家扫 QR code 给我们这一次的活动 feedback。Okay, thank you all. See you next year.